From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Monday, June 23rd, and here are today's headlines. Roughly one-third of Vermont's small outdoor cannabis growers have relinquished their licenses this year because they're facing severe economic challenges. These are so-called Tier 1 growers who have spaces of less than 1,000 square feet. James Pepper is the chairman of the Vermont Cannabis Control Board, and he says the board conducts exit interviews with growers who give up their licenses. Their message this year is clear.
For a lot of them, they say that the cost of regulation, the inability to access the market, and the cost of banking and insurance are the main drivers.
Pepper says the board has implemented a freeze on new retail licenses and is drafting rules to encourage more geographic diversity of stores. The Vermont Electric Cooperative is encouraging members to conserve electricity tonight. Demand is expected to spike throughout New England due to high temperatures. Tips include delaying the use of major appliances like dishwashers and washing machines and reducing the use of air conditioning as much as safely possible. Reducing consumption during peak hours saves VEC and consumers money. That's because electricity can be more expensive for the utility to purchase and transmit during peak periods. VEC serves 75 communities in northern Vermont. State tax revenues fell well short of their estimates in May. Revenue for Vermont's General Fund, Education Fund, and Transportation Fund missed their targets by a cumulative 6%. That's according to Secretary of Administration Sarah Clark. Revenue generated from the income tax was off by more than 15% last month. Despite the shortfall in May, Clark says the General Fund and Education Fund are on target to have surpluses by the end of the year. The outlook for the Transportation Fund, though, is more uncertain. Montpelier City Council will review their sanctuary city policies following a unanimous vote earlier this month. The council approved a proposal that creates a committee tasked with reviewing the city's current policies and creating a response strategy to federal immigration authorities. Montpelier is one of three so-called sanctuary cities in Vermont. Those are municipalities that limit their cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Montpelier Councilor Palin Cohn introduced the proposal, and she says some people have concerns that it will have unintended consequences.
There might be some challenges to do this work, but we already have the policies. This ad hoc committee will only highlight that what we promised to our community members long time ago.
Cohn says she hopes the committee will create a stronger sense of trust between the city government and its residents. The Trump administration recently threatened to pull federal funding from sanctuary cities, including Montpelier, and briefly listed them online, but eventually took the list down after mislabeling some municipalities. And Montreal is trying to recruit scientists and researchers who want to flee the United States. The city has set aside $100,000 to help universities attract American academics. That's according to the CBC. The move comes as President Trump is slashing higher education funding and trying to impose policy changes at universities. Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante says her city can provide a, quote, dynamic, inclusive environment that fosters innovation, again, according to the CBC. Coming up, the dangers to human health caused by microplastics have scientists sounding alarm bells. The tiny particles are seemingly everywhere, including in Vermont's Lake Champlain. Researchers are trying to find out how they're getting there and where they're coming from. That's after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from VITA, supporting business growth and innovation in the Green Mountain State. From agriculture to manufacturing, energy to food production, find solutions that turn your business dreams into reality. Visit VEDA.org and see how VITA can help make it happen.
Scientists are increasingly worried about microplastics and what they might be doing to us. They are everywhere in our environment, and Lake Champlain is no exception. Researchers there are trying to answer a key question: where are they coming from? Vermont Public's Abigail Giles has more.
At Burlington's North Beach, researchers comb the sand from the waves to the boardwalk. They're looking for very small pieces of plastic called microplastic. Walking along a measuring tape, they scoop sand samples into brownie pans. Back in a Lake Champlain Sea Grant Program lab, they'll sift the sand and pull out tiny fibers, pellets, and particles of foam to try to figure out what they are under a microscope. And Jefferson leads this team.
We think of microplastics as tiny, micro, right? But actually, a microplastic is anything that's smaller than the size of about a pencil eraser.
Over the last decade or so, scientists on both sides of Lake Champlain have noticed a concerning trend. These tiny pieces of plastic are everywhere, even on the most pristine-looking beaches.
Big plastics break apart and become small plastics and eventually microplastics. So that single pool noodle could literally become millions of microplastics.
Plastic has shown up in nets used for catching zooplankton. Those are the tiny organisms that make up the foundation of the lake's food web. Plastic fibers have even been found in the guts of the zooplankton themselves, and even more concerningly, in at least 15 species of fish that eat them and that humans consume.
80% and upwards of particulate that we were finding were fibers. We were finding a lot of polyethylene terephthalate, rayon, nylon type stuff.
That's Danielle Garneau, a professor at SUNY Plattsburgh who's surveying New York beaches this summer and who opened up all those guts.
And you see their vibrant colors, fuchsias and blues, greens.
But that's not all. Garneau has also found microplastics in the wastewater effluent that towns send into the lake. Most don't have filters that can remove the pollutants. Boston College's Dr. Philip Landrigan studies microplastics and human health. He says most plastics are made from fossil fuels. Manufacturers add some 16,000 chemicals to plastics to give them their color and texture.
Many of those chemicals are highly toxic. Some are known causes of cancer. Others are toxic to the nervous system. Still others can disrupt endocrine signaling in the human body.
Microplastics get into our bodies when we breathe household dust and pollution from burning plastics, but also when we eat food or water contaminated with the particles. Back at North Beach, scientists like Ann Jefferson are still trying to figure out where most of the plastic in Lake Champlain is coming from. Some is coming from wastewater. Some is probably coming from foam docks. Some is probably from things like pool noodles. But the rest is still a mystery. For example, they're increasingly finding tiny plastic pellets used in plastic manufacturing.
The key thing is that we need to stop the microplastics before they get into the environment, and that means either dealing with industrial sources or dealing with macroplastics, with the bigger sorts of plastic things.
Global plastic production is only growing. Most of it can't be recycled. Federal and state bans on unnecessary plastics, like the ones that used to be in face washes and toothpaste, can help. Vermont has banned styrofoam docks and plastic bags in recent years. Jefferson would like to see more bans on single-use plastics. And towns can help by installing better filters when they upgrade their wastewater and drinking water facilities. In the meantime, Jefferson says consumers can do their part by trying to avoid buying new plastic and by cleaning up after themselves at the beach. Still,
it's really, really tricky to avoid plastics completely.
Ultimately, she says, regulating the big industries upstream is the best solution. For Vermont Public, I'm Abigail Giles.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Bob Kinzel, Mark Davis, and Adia Golston. Today's episode was edited by Mark Davis, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you tomorrow.
Planet Money helps you understand the economy. We find the people at the center of the story.
Garbage in New York, that was like a controlled substance.
We show you how money influences everything.
Tell me what you like by telling me how you spend your money.
And we dig until we get answers.
I had a bad feeling you were going to bring that up.
Planet Money finds out. All you have to do is listen. The Planet Money Podcast from NPR.